Hey y'all, welcome to the Literary Apothecary. My name is Kate and today I'm here to talk about Miami by Joan Didion. This is a long-form nonfiction book by one of my favorite nonfiction authors. I first read her when I was back in grad school getting my MFA in creative nonfiction and I immediately fell in love. I believe the first thing I read was The Year of Magical Thinking, and that was more personal than some of the essays that I talk about here on the channel, but I am currently making my way through her giant collection of essays and short fiction. This is a long form nonfiction that was thrown in there. That collection is called We Tell Ourselves Stories in Order to Live, and I love it. I love Joan Didion so much. Reading through some of these previous essays, some I enjoy a lot more than others, and I see why some people have mixed feelings about her writing, but I always find something in her essays that I can latch onto, and I treasure that connection to her. So my general thoughts about Miami is that Joan Didion always manages to dig deep to expose the core of the issue that she is writing about. In Miami, she balances her own observations and views as an outsider with personal testimonies, professional testimonies, interviews, other journalist pieces, and government documents. Now, let me give you a spoiler-free review about what the long-form Miami is all about. Miami is not just a portrait of a city, but a masterly study of immigration and exile, passion, hypocrisy, and political violence. From the best-selling award-winning author of The Year of Magical Thinking, and let me tell you what I mean. It is where Fidel Castro raised money to overthrow Batista, and where 2 generations of Castro's enemies have raised armies to overthrow him, so far without success. It is where the bitter opera of Cuban exile intersects with the cynicism of U.S. foreign policy. It is a city whose skyrocketing murder rate is fueled by the cocaine trade, racial discontent, and an undeclared war on the island 96 miles to the south. As Didion follows Miami's drift into a third world capital, she also locates its position in the secret history of the Cold War, from the Bay of Pigs to the Reagan Doctrine, and from the Kennedy assassination to the Watergate break-in. That's such a huge range. Now, let me jump right into my thoughts about this. Her writing style, although it takes some getting used to if one is not familiar with Didion's writing style already, Didion always manages to suck me in. So let's talk about the content in this long-form nonfiction piece. Didion dug in so far for this piece. I initially thought it would be more of a fluff piece, but I should have known it being Didion, because Didion doesn't write fluff. This was a hard-hitting expose that at times could have put her in danger herself. She wrote about Cubans and Americans, Cuban politics and American politics, covering at one time or another the administration of 3 different presidents. In this book, I learned about the history of Miami from a cultural, historical, and political point of view, and I loved it all. Enjoyment. I learned so much reading this shortish book. Miami is some of Didion's best writing, in my opinion, and a piece that I will reread again and again. I didn't know how much I was gonna learn going into reading this piece, but I learned so much, and like I said, this is a piece that I'm going to be rereading again and again, and learning different things each time I read it. And while at first I didn't really know how I was going to think about this piece, like I said, I think this is some of Didion's best writing, and this is coming from a person who thought her personal pieces were her best pieces before I read this one. So if you want to learn about the city of Miami and the Cuban immigration from all different angles, or these 3 different American presidencies, Reagan and Kennedy and Nixon, and how they were entwined in these different Cuban narratives, then you'll definitely want to check out Miami by Joan Didion. If you've read this book before, let me know in the comments below, what did you think of it? I haven't met too many people that have read Joan Didion's more journalistic pieces instead of her more personal pieces like Year of Magical Thinking, and I always love finding Didion fans like myself. So if you're a Didion fan, hit me up in the comments below. As always, keep reading, and I love you all to the moon and back. Bye.